Um, More than first, we kind of talked a little bit about just getting to know you and everything. Uh, your journey has kind of been interesting, just getting to this point. I'll just talk about how working with people who have. I'll get to more the number in a second, but working with people who have like eating disorders and stuff like that, it's not entirely common for a 15-year-old. No, not to be disrespectful, but for someone so young to be, I want to dive into this. Kind of what inspired getting into this?
What inspired getting me into this is well, I personally struggled with an eating disorder when I was 13. And it's something that may leave your body, but it'll truly never leave your mind. And I think that there's not much voice, or really, there may be concern towards people towards eating disorders, but I don't think there's enough voice and awareness and knowledge through it all. And it's always bothered me, and I can either do something about it or I just leave it in my head. And I decided to do something. It may be small, but it's important to me. So.
If I may ask, and you can answer this or not, like, how did you kind of get your, because I don't understand, well, and I say this as a complete outsider to all this, how does one kind of get into, I don't say get into, but for lack of a better term, how does one kind of develop, I guess, an eating disorder? Like, is it, I feel like there are various cases where, so like, if I may ask, how did you kind of discover yours?
Well, actually, mine came from not my weight, but my height.
Okay.
So, my dad is really tall, and my mom is average height. But for some reason, I got that really tall gene. So, I've always been like the tallest girl in all my classes. And then in 7th grade, I got a really big growth spurt, and I was like 5'7". So, I personally felt like a giant in a room full of everyone else. And I realized that if my height makes me different, maybe my weight could be fluctuated more towards the group of girls in my class. So for some reason, an evil voice came in my head that everything was wrong with me, my weight, my height, the way that I dressed, everything. So I realized that maybe if I couldn't do something about my height, I could do something about my weight. But instead of going towards that in a healthy manner, I started skipping meals, or if I were to eat, then I would throw it up after, or I would stay up late doing jumping jacks, squats, push-ups, just to punish my body for just giving itself energy. And that's really how it started.
How much would you say, going into more than that, but how much would you say your journey and getting out of that has really inspired now going to more than a number?
Oh, I think it fully inspired me, of course, like with the help of my mom and my little sister. But the reason why it fully inspired me is because I felt so lonely through it all. That's what really got me, because, I mean, what parent wants to hear their daughter going through that and hurting their body? Or if I were to talk to my friends about it, it was truly something, because there's not much awareness about it. They would truly like brush it off, or they would just say, well, something that goes away, but truly it doesn't. It never goes away. And I felt so lonely through it all, how I had to do this I was doing it to myself, but really, I was by myself in it. And I realized that so many people feel that way, and there's not much they can do, really.
Talk about dealing with the stigmas a bit. I think a lot of people, when you think eating disorders, it is the anorexia, it is, throwing up, stuff like that. Talk, and because people see it, it's not, eating disorders is not the most common. I you can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but it's one of those things where, how can I explain this? It's one of those things like, it isn't talked about whatsoever, and I don't want to say it's looked down upon, but it's one of those like taboo type subjects. It feels like it's very taboo, right? How do you navigate that part, especially when we talk about high school, in that age range? Because like everything is almost like taboo when it comes to high school.
Yeah. So, well, I think eating disorders can affect any age, but really it's most common towards high schoolers, like preteen and teenagers. That's when it's most directed towards, because, like, well, you're going through so much that really everything is very sensitive to your mind. And I think, what was your question?
So, I mean, like, how do you kind of get people to open up about it? Because especially in the high school age range, it's a lot of stuff can be embarrassing, right? I mean, and this is kind of one of those things where most people, most people your age, they don't want to like just open up about that. Maybe how do you kind of get them over that hurdle? 'Cause I feel like that's like the biggest hurdle to kind of get past first.
Sorry, I didn't understand that first.
It's okay.
Well, I think it's just important that you just create a safe space. Like, I personally want to make this a club in my school, and I want to make it known that anyone can come in, like, regardless of if you're a freshman, a senior, a junior, or if you're a guy or girl, like, literally anything. You can come into the room at any time. You can come talk to me. You can come to talk to any of, like, people in our club. I think it's just important that, like, you make a safe space, and you also make sure not to be judgmental at all. Like, if I personally am judgy towards other people, no one's going to want to be gravitated towards me. I mean, I would walk away from me. But, so it's just important to be kind towards everyone and to just be a judge-free zone. Like, I always like to preface that eating disorders aren't gravitated towards one specific group. Anyone can have it. You, me, a random person that you walk past by in the street, like, anyone can have it. And it's just important to acknowledge that, really.
How much do you feel that you probably better answer this than I can. How much do you feel that social media, the way it is nowadays, has kind of played an even bigger role towards like towards people, regardless of age, developing eating disorders?
I think,
especially in high school age.
Yeah, I think social media plays a huge role in it. Actually, I know you can make the argument that social media is very progressive nowadays, especially with, like, for example, runway models, how they're doing plus size models, which is amazing, but you can't, as much as we're going to progress in the day and age, you can't undo the damage that is currently happening with, like, all of our influencers. If you look at them in a row, they all look the same. They're under 150 pounds or things like that. And especially as much as we can make the argument that there's a specific group of people that aren't like that, really, the statistics are there that most people are gravitated towards those like that. And I think there's such negative stigma towards people who are actually plus size or people who want to speak up about their relationship with food because they're met with so much judgment, which goes into what I said earlier, how it's just important to create a safe space and be so non-judgmental.
Talking about more than a number. Like what is More Than a Number?
Okay. More Than a Number is a nonprofit. We're raising awareness and spreading knowledge towards eating disorders and also the impacts of negative body image, because although you may not suffer from an eating disorder, you could probably still think about how your body image impacts everyday life. Like, you may still completely be okay with your body and, like, your eating habits, but there's always something in your mind that impacts your view of body image. So we're trying to spread awareness to that as well, not just one specific thing. And the way we're doing it is just by, we pass out flyers. I'm trying to start the club at Heritage to get to talk to more people, and really just creating a safe space for anyone to come talk to and open up about their story.
Oh, you're the one that created this? They created it More Than a Number, or was this an organization before? Oh, so you founded this?
Yeah.
Damn, okay.
Yeah.
Get you CEO, all right, let's do this. With that said, like you mentioned making it a club at Heritage. It would start, I'm assuming it would start next year. It would start in the coming fall. Yeah. Just talk about how important it is for you to bring that to Heritage and just like the impact you hope the club is going to have.
Well, I hope the club actually impacts more than Heritage. Heritage is next to Adams, and I really hope, like, a huge goal of mine is to be able to go to Adams and talk to, like, the middle schoolers or really any teachers that would like me to come in to talk to. I really want to, like, spread knowledge about it. Like, I truly am dedicated about it, and I think as social media progresses every day, and especially how it reaches towards kids younger every day, I think it's so important to talk about it and not be scared of talking about it. It's a hard subject, but really, you just have to do it scared.
Have you talked to just the other teachers at Heritage and as advisors as far as bringing this in? I mean, if I may ask, what's their reaction been?
They were honestly a little surprised that I wanted to do something like this, because it is a harsh subject. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not rainbows or glitter, but they were just surprised through it all. But, like, once I got to talking to them, I think they came to realize that it's something that isn't talked about enough, and they wanted to get to know about it too, which I thought was really nice.
For those who are interested in joining the club next year, those interested in where can they get more information?
Right now my Instagram is pretty active. It's More Than a Number with 2 N's, so more.
Nice.
Than
Okay.
number. The first one was taken.
So more than THANN?
Yes. That one.
Clever. All right. Talia, thank you so much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you.
it.